Hi guys, Andy here. I've been wondering how on earth I'm supposed to do the review for this Gear VR headset, because you can't really pass the experience of wearing this thing with words, and yet that's what I'm gonna have to do. I can't even do a screen record of what the phone shows while I'm wearing it. You get an incredibly low frames per second. So as I say, I'm gonna have to try and explain to you some things about it and how it feels and what it looks like and what it can do. But let's start things off with hardware and design. So it's actually fairly light. It weighs 286 grams on my scales. If I add the phone in, it comes in at 454 grams. I've happily worn it for pretty much an hour watching a TV show. I had no problems at all with that. You will feel a little bit of weight on your nose because it will sort of rest into that slightly. Possibly you need better ventilation because you do tend to find that the lenses often fog up the first 5 minutes or so. I always keep a cloth handy to give them a wipe down, or you can perhaps try and warm the lenses before with some heavy breathing onto them, or if you happen to have one knocking around, a hairdryer just to warm them up for 30 seconds in advance. It's a fairly simple design. I think it's fairly sort of classy looking. You don't look, well no, you're gonna look a bit stupid. You're gonna look stupid wearing it. I think you just need to kind of get over it and not worry about it. The touchpad on the side is very sensitive, and people will often just catch it by mistake. You're trying to find the touchpad and you'll catch it, and quite often you'll tap and stop whatever you're watching by mistake. So get used to sort of finding the outside there first and then tapping. Only things that your head looks directly at seem to be perfectly in focus. I think it's around the edges because the lenses, they are quite rounded in there. So I guess it's only when you're looking right through the middle it's perfectly sharp. There is a focusing wheel at the top, which basically, I don't know how well you can see that, moves the phone closer or further away than the lenses. Some people still find they can't get it quite into focus. Generally, obviously, and you want to use it looking at text and then focus and then carry on with whatever you're doing. There is a micro USB port, although I tried plugging that in with my phone connected and then to the computer, and it wouldn't recognize my phone when it was working outside of this. So I can only assume that's actually for power, which is probably a good job because you're going to use about 20% of your battery per hour of being used, and your phone at the same time can sometimes get quite hot when it's being pushed on the more intense apps, so be aware of that. The headset does have its own sensors. I didn't realise this until a couple of days ago. That's how it's so responsive. The phone sensors aren't good enough to have that precise movement detection. So the headset does have its own sensors, as well as a proximity sensor just in here, so it detects when you take the device off your head and it stops whatever you're playing, you put it back on, and usually it says touch to carry on. Then we're going to move on to the experience of wearing the Gear VR. As I've already said, it's almost impossible to put into words. You just feel like you're there. You can see pixels, unfortunately, when you're looking at something that close. Even the high resolution of the Note 5 means you do get the screen door effect. But I tend to think that I can only really see them if I go looking for them, and most people say after a couple of minutes you really don't notice that they're there. Another point is any speck of dirt at all on the screen of your phone is going to look huge when you put this on, because again, you're looking at the screen from a very short distance. So personally, I keep a microfiber cloth with the Gear VR to wipe the lenses and the phone down in between uses. Travelling movement when you're wearing the headset can give you a bit of a nauseous feeling. So I was just watching a LeBron James kind of feature where you spending some time with LeBron training, and there was this bit where he's driving a golf cart through his neighbourhood, I guess, or wherever, some training facility perhaps, and he's chatting away to you. So you're kind of sat in the passenger seat sort of thing, looking over at LeBron, and he's chatting away to you. But obviously because you're whizzing along and your brain tells you you're not moving, but your eyes tell your brain, no, we're moving. Like, and I think that's what kind of motion sickness is basically. I don't suffer from it too badly, but even me sitting in this buggy moving along, I kind of started to get a bit of a funny feeling down in my stomach. It's also worthwhile using some decent headphones. to sort of fully immerse yourself in the experience. But I mean, like I said, there's not a lot that I can say to really get across how the feeling of. I mean, you're there. I don't know how else to explain it. You have to try the headset to really understand what I'm talking about. It's just so immersive. It's so responsive. And that's the key for the experience, I think, is that it is that responsive, that any slight movement, it's just spot on. Whatever you're looking at stays exactly where it should. And that's key, I think, to the experience. So then on to apps for the Gear VR. I've mainly stayed within Samsung's, Oculus's store. You can venture out into cardboard. You have to disable the Gear VR package, run a cardboard app, put the phone in. Because you disable the package, it won't launch the Gear VR application. It lets you just carry on with whatever you're doing. I tend to find that the cardboard apps they weren't quite as crisp, as sharp, as reactive as they just weren't as polished as the specific Samsung Gear VR apps. I mean, there's I've no idea how many, there's a good 100 or more apps to choose from. They're broken down into sort of games, experiences, movies, all this sort of thing. I found that Ocean Rift seems to be one of the favourites for people experiencing Gear VR for the first time. And it basically drops you in the sea. You decide what you want to swim with. It might be dolphins, it might be sea snakes, it might be sea turtles. You select whichever, it reloads and there's the dolphins swimming around you. It really is quite impressive. It's always fun to put people into the shark tank. The first time I was in there, you're looking around, where's these flaming sharks? And you're looking around, and then you look around, and there's one, bang, into the cage, whoa! And it is fun to watch people's reactions. Oculus Video is quite a cool app as well. It lets you watch any videos you have on your phone, specifically in the DCIM folder. So you can put videos that you may have acquired elsewhere into that folder and then watch them. My tip would be to turn off any photo backing up service that you have, like Dropbox or Google Photos, because if you drop a 1 gig file in there, as I did 4 times, it then backs it up to your backup service. So generally I store them elsewhere, go into airplane mode, move the file in, load up the application and watch the video. So the actual video itself, the application itself, you select Oculus Video, you go and select My Videos and pick whatever, and there's other videos like Facebook videos and all things like that. You need Wi-Fi to watch them. Unfortunately, you can't just watch them through cell connection, which I thought was a little bit weird. You pick My Video, then it says, right, what do you want to watch it in? And it defaults to like a cinema, and you can slide back and forth to home movie, cinema, moon, ant cinema in your garden, which is, so it's like a phone in the grass, and there's like cans of Coke and stuff, and you're an ant watching a movie on the phone, or void cinema. So if you go to the actual cinema, for example, it's like you're in the cinema. I mean, there's all these different seats on your own, by the way, all these seats, and there's the actual cinema itself and the massive big screen. So the first time I watched a video like that, I realised that actually I had to look at whoever was talking on each side of the screen. It's a little bit too big. So I've gone for home cinema now, which is a smaller screen like that. I mean, it's still pretty massive, bigger than, unless you've got like a 17-inch TV at home. And again, you sit there, there's a few seats around you, but generally you're watching. But it's quite impressive that when the video is so bright, actually the whole room lights up a little bit, and then a darker bit of the movie, and it always goes a bit darker. And it's just so immersive. Obviously whack the old headphones on for the full effect. If you use Void Cinema, and I haven't to be honest yet, but you can change the size of the screen, so you can have a huge big screen that you're looking, or you can bring it down to a smaller screen. Quite handy. Oculus Fun, Oculus Social is quite fun. Similar thing, although I think you have to watch the videos on the moon setting, but you can join like a chat room with 5 other people. Again, you want a headset to be able to talk to them. It has to be wired though, not Bluetooth. I don't know why. So I joined with Bluetooth, and they were saying, "Oh, Andy, plug in a headphone." And I had to go away, and I got the wire out and plugged it all in and went back. And literally just sat there watching these videos, and you can see the other people's heads. You get to pick like an avatar, and you can see where they're looking. So if they're looking at you, and you can be talking to them, or you look back at the video and you can see it's quite an odd experience, but at the same time quite fun. I bought Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes because I heard quite a lot about it. It cost me $10, so just under £7. And basically one person wears the headset, they can see a bomb with different modules within it. Everyone else that's there, as many as you want, as few as you want, have the instructions. So if the person wearing the headset says, right, first module is I've got a set of wires. Okay, how many wires is it? I can see 6 wires. How many yellows have you got? I got 3 yellows. How many reds? 2 reds. How many blues? I haven't got any blues. Cut the 4th wire. Click. Yep, that worked. Right, the next module I can see it's like a Simple Simon and the red is flashing. Right, is there an O in this? You know, it's really quite challenging. The person with the headset's got to be very descriptive and quick, and then the people with the instructions. I mean, it definitely helps when you've done some of them once or twice. You start getting the hang of what you need to be asking and what you're looking for. But really quite intense when you've got three minutes to do it, a certain amount of modules, and then they start doing things like turning the lights on and off, and there's an alarm going off, and it's quite intense, but great fun. And also Gunjack, I bought Gunjack, it was $10 as well. And basically it's connected to Eve, the MMO game, but only very loosely. Basically you're a gunner on a massive like mining ship, and there's just loads of ships flying in to attack you, and using either that as a trigger, or I found a little Bluetooth thing that I could, Bluetooth gamepad, to shoot, reload, or the special weapon. And you're basically just all these things are flying, you're shooting them, obviously you're looking with your head to aim and you're shooting, and it's really quite good fun. So there are a few things that the Gear VR has made me realise are actually quite necessary now in my Note 5 that in the past I might have thought were a bit overkill. So the 518 pixels per inch actually isn't enough. I would have said, in the past, I think even in the reviews I sort of said, just stick to a 1080p screen. Even 720 is generally okay, but actually for virtual reality, I don't know how high you would need it, but yeah, 518 is enough. You can see the pixels now, so that's one thing. Fast charging and wireless charging, I appreciate them a lot more. You're gonna, as I think I've mentioned, you're gonna burn through maybe up to 20% in an hour using the Gear VR, so it is quite handy, especially if you're going to use it a lot, obviously, to try and keep your battery topped up. So the fast charging or the nice and easy wireless charging really is quite helpful in that respect. Then you look at the kind of the processing power. Octa-core, really? I mean, I've always said octa-core in a phone, really? But actually, I think that's partly what's going to give you such a smooth and immersive experience. Maybe it's fine with a quad-core, I don't know, I haven't tried, but I'm guessing a lot of it, because sometimes the phone does heat up quite a bit, I'm guessing actually it's pretty intense on the sort of the processor and the RAM and all that kind of thing. So all these things that before I would have thought, it's overkill, why do you need such power in a phone? When you plug it into one of these, then you appreciate it. So, in conclusion, I think actually obviously we're very early on in VR's life cycle, and I think probably in 10 years we'll look back at this sort of quality of VR now and we'll probably chuckle, because there are times where it's not as crisp an image as if you're just watching a high-def movie or something, for example. It just isn't that crisp, and I expect we'll get there eventually. But I mean, really, it has to be experienced. I can't stress that enough. I can't explain to you what it's like. You need to try it. The immersion only works because of how responsive the headset is. I mean, it's just everything stays where it should. As your head moves, it stays right there. It wouldn't work if it was moving up, and then there's none of that. It's rock solid. Really quite impressive. The side pad, it's a little bit sensitive, and it takes some getting used to. Especially when you lend it to someone. Right, try this. The amount of times they go to feel where the pad is and they just press it. Stop touching the side. Even when people want to hold it and they'll catch the side, it's so sensitive. But at the same time, I guess it has to be. It can't be that it can't be that you've got to press it hard. You're going to be pushing it off your head. I think to an extent. So I've had this 2 weeks now, and to an extent, the novelty does wear off a little bit. But at the same time, there's new content being added all the time, and I think obviously there's going to be more and more and more content coming, and actually it was still, it's not even about being a novel the Novelty Factory. It's just really useful. So I was away staying at my mum's, and I could go up to my room and stick a TV show on, and watch a TV show, decent sound, massive big screen, and not disturb anybody at all. I do look forward to the full Oculus Rift being released, that I think you plug into your computer and stuff, because I would love to be able to play Battlefield with this sort of immersion. Although I hope I don't end up throwing up as I'm running around on building sites or jumping out of a plane or something. I think if you do have the S6, the S6 Edge Plus, or the Note 5, or the S6 Edge, whichever of the compatible devices are, you really should spend £80 on one of these things. It's like nothing we've had before, I believe, or I've not had before anyway. It really is that good. I challenge anyone not to be impressed by it. So, there you go. Have I managed to explain why it's so good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. My name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.